Hey, your Eagles are flying off to Cali. They're 4-0. Can they get to 5-0 and win their third game this year already on the road? We're going to break it all down, the matchup with the Birds and the Rams, right here on Eagles Game Plan, presented by Toyota. It starts right now.
Hey, give nothing, take everything. 1, 2, 3, go!
Hey everybody, welcome to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. I am John Clark, along with the great Mike Quick and the great Ike Reese. And Jalen Hurts as a starter has won 21 of 22 regular season starts. We cannot take this for granted. Yeah. Eagles, Rams on the road, Birds trying to go to 5-0. What are the things you guys are looking at specifically?
I'll tell you what else we can't take for granted. That's great linebacker play, and that's what we saw last week, man. Top two linebackers led the team in tackles. Great job by Zach Cunningham and Nicholas Morrow. But what also has me excited is how they're using the linebackers, particularly Nicholas Morrow. He had 3 sacks last week. He had 3 tackles for loss and quarterback hits. And what excites me about this is that they're allowing that position, that middle linebacker, to play downhill and be in attack mode. So you're getting the opportunity to see him do some things on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Yep. Can't wait to see this position continue to evolve in this defense. N'Kobe will be back at some point. So watching the LBs play the way that they're playing, man, gets me excited.
How they're using them really speaks to what I'm excited about. And it's really the coordinators, both sides, how they're using the guys on defense, but the offensive side as well. I really like what they did on the offensive side against Washington. They saw how the defensive backs were reacting early in the game. In that second half, they started to double move them. They got big plays down the field on the double moves. They got big penalties on pass interferences and holdings on the double moves. These coordinators starting to understand their players. They're starting to put them in the position so that they can be successful.
And yeah, Jalen Hurts had his best game in the passing game, 319 yards. So let's talk about that passing game that really got going. Here is tape study presented by Chickies and Pete's with our own Fran Duffy with the pass game coordinator, Kevin Patullo.
All right, joining us this week here for Tape Study presented by Chickies and Pete's, the official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles pass game coordinator Kevin Patullo. And Coach, everybody talks about A.J. Brown. Obviously had a huge game this past week. We talk about his height, weight, speed, and his hands, yards after catch. But him as a technician, I feel like is an undersold part of his game, and we saw that here. An early catch for 15 yards on a slant route.
Yeah, so you look at A.J., I mean, he's very technical in what he does. He loves to study tape. But if you go back to this play right here, when the play's all set up, the first piece is up top, right? So we're gonna read, do we have access to throw this over here? It's 2 over 2, we don't like the look. So now we know AJ's one-on-one, and then Dallas by this coverage is one-on-one. So if you let it run a little bit here, you can see AJ on this release, he knows he has press man. Now, if you go back a little bit, if you watch what's happening with the corner's feet, he's gonna come to a split kind of balance look. So AJ knows he's gonna have him on his heels. If he speed releases, gets hard inside, and then if you watch the route as it develops, he's gonna reset back into number 13 to hold space, right? So if I'm running the route off you, Fran, I'm gonna get inside, and I've gotta lean into you to kind of create that space away from the next defender inside. So if you let it go again, you can kind of see how this whole thing develops, right? AJ knows if he speed releases inside, he's got him on his heels, he's gotta reestablish that line, hold it vertical for 2 steps, right? So that the safety now can clear on Dallas is what is going to the flat right here. That'll clear, and then he hits it behind that window right there.
And that's why I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily realize is that in order to create that separation, you have to get close. You got to close that space and get as close to that guy as you can before breaking opposite.
You know, there's a saying a lot of times, you got to get close to get open, and this is a true example of that. He's got to get close to the defender to separate and get open and then clear the window, which Dallas is doing a good job of here getting to the flat to clear the safety out for him.
Yeah, I love that with Dallas too. You know, we saw a number of plays this past week. The deep post to Devontae Smith being one, a couple of plays where defenders are looking at Dallas Goedert and he's able to open up the lane for somebody else.
Correct. You know, AJ had a big day, obviously, but everybody has a part in this thing. I mean, all the receivers do, obviously the line and Jalen. And here's another example, right? So this ball is going to AJ, right? We're gonna be one-on-one on here on the corner again. But if you watch this play, what people don't notice is OZ right here, he does probably the most important job so AJ can get the ball. He's gonna do a great job of shaving the inside number here on the nickel and keeping it really skinny so that the Mike backer cannot make the play on AJ. I mean, this is something that we talk about all week and is a huge part of this play. AJ does not get this ball if OZ does not do his job properly. So, you know, when you look at the players, like OZ, you know, it's a great another catch for AJ, but OZ is the one that really set this play up and allows us to get another completion to AJ to just kind of add for his day up.
Not to like speed through that play, but I feel like it's such a good bridge to what we saw a little bit later, the long touchdown to AJ Brown, and OZ had a big part in that as well.
So, you know, this is another play, right? There's a lot of guys doing different jobs here just to get AJ the ball. So if you watch this thing develop, right, we're gonna motion Dallas out. So the safety now is going with him. So Jalen now knows, okay, I got man-to-man. I'm just gonna have to throw the ball away from this guy. Now, with that being said, AJ's got to do a great job of selling. What we're doing is trying to throw a screen potentially, you know, for their eyes to Dallas. So Dallas sells it on the screen. AJ works up. Now, what he does a great job of is kind of settling his feet because the guy that's guarding him, his eyes now free up and he sees Dallas because his feet are settled. And then AJ gets down the red line and we run past both defenders. And if you watch this whole play, you can see how that defender for 1 second took his eyes off AJ and looked at Dallas, and AJ is able to get behind him. And then Jalen did a great job of throwing the ball away from the safety. If you go back a little bit, you can kind of see how this concept's working. We're trying to work guys across just in case this safety flies over the top. Jalen now reads it back to the other guys. So everybody's doing their job here properly. We got great protection. Jalen makes a great read. And then once the ball's in the air, everybody sees it. Uh-oh, we got a big play. So we get in phase and just kind of execute even more. I mean, this is just totally everybody wanting, you know, a big play out of this. Devontae's working hard, OZ's working hard, and they want to score. And the excitement after, you know, you get a touchdown like this, you can see Devontae and OZ are so excited for AJ because they had a huge role in this. And if you actually go all the way back to the beginning of the play, right when Dallas fakes the screen right here, this is kind of funny. He knows it right away. As soon as he sees their eyes clear, he knows. Here we go, we got a big one. So this is a great job by everybody, and you know, super exciting. And on the sidelines, we were all excited as well.
And Ike Reese, the Eagles have found a different way to win every time. And Jalen Hurts in his last 10 starts where they've had a double-digit deficit, he's pulled out a win. This was a good comeback win.
Yeah, different ways to win. And that's what you have to do each year. It's not the 2022 team. They're not going to win the same way they won last year. They're still figuring out how to win with the players that they have right now. And the most important thing is they're winning.
Yeah, and this Rams team that the Eagles are going to be facing, we're going to be bringing Greg Cosell for that at NFL Films. This Rams team is throwing the ball more than any team in the NFL, and Matthew Stafford's got the second most passing yards. What do the Eagles have to watch out for with this Rams offense, especially the passing game?
Yeah, John, this is a really good passing offense. Stafford can still throw the ball really, really well. He's willing to throw it. He's going to make tough throws into tight windows. But one of the things the Rams are doing more and more of, as we're seeing around the NFL, is the use of motion in their pass game. And one reason it's so important this year for them is they have Tutu Atwell, who's probably 5'6", 5'7", 150 pounds. So they need to get him free access off the ball so he can get into his routes without any disruption. And I want to show you a play from a few weeks ago that's really indicative of how they use him and how they create big plays. Now you're going to see a play here where they're in basically a 2-by-2 set. Atwell is down at the bottom of the screen, and he's in a plus split. Now, the concept here, this is going to be a first down shot play. The concept here is they're going to run kind of double digs with the two receivers down below, Atwell and Jefferson, and a post up top by Nacua. Now, what they're going to do with Atwell is they're going to put him in motion, and they do that because they want the free access off the ball so he can scream into his route. So let's watch that now. You're going to see it. Atwell's going to go in motion. You're going to see the switch by the defensive back. So now he's on the slot corner, who's Mike Hilton here. And look at the speed with which he can cross the field. And this sets up a defined throw for Stafford. And this is not an easy throw for Matthew Stafford, but he makes it. And you see the speed and burst with Atwell. They've been doing that really, really effectively this year, using motion. They use Atwell in motion. They use Nacua in motion. And they really get free access. And what Sean McVay is so good at is spacing with his routes. He creates space for his receivers, which helps define the reads and the throws for Matthew Stafford, who's still one of the best throwers in the NFL.
Greg, we've seen how motions and sometimes bunch sets has confused sometimes is secondary, and we've seen some missed assignments on the back end. And we know that the Rams do that stuff a lot. How do you think that's going to impact this game?
I think it will impact the game, Q. I think this is something they have to work on in practice this week for all the different motions that they're going to get from the Rams. Not only Atwell, but Nakua had a play last week where he went in motion and actually then put inside the tight end, and it was a 32-yard play. So you're going to see a lot of different motions. You have to prepare for that. You have to decide how you want to play that. Are you going to switch? Everybody assumes switch is man coverage. It doesn't have to be the case. You can also switch in zone because you're reacting to the passing strength, which can change depending on the nature of the motion. But this is something, Q, they have to practice hard all week.
All right, thanks a lot, Greg. We're going to see you later in the show with more good stuff. And it's all about motion, motion, motion with Sean McVay. And the Eagles have had different safeties almost every game. And then you've mixed in James Bradbury at the slot. So how difficult is all of that, putting it together against motion?
It's very difficult. I mean, the very fact that you don't have the same personnel in the back end of your defense every week, it doesn't allow for those guys to have familiarity with each other. And that's a big part of being a strong secondary, is knowing how to play off of each other. But as this pertains to the Rams offense and what Sean McVay likes to do, that's a part of their offensive philosophy, which is to create mental gymnastics, create confusion pre-snap with motions. They do these short motions with Tutu Atwell, where he's going in motion, and really at the snap of the ball, he's already attacking the defense and trying to get leverage against them. So this is where the Eagles as a defense have to do a great job of communicating with each other. And I'll be interested to see what the game plan is like, because sometimes you want to simplify things. You don't want to give the guys too much to think about, because McVay is also relying on you to do that as well.
And we've seen some teams stunt against the Rams O-line, and the Eagles did a nice job with their stunts. Josh Sweat, you know, he can get around there. And Hassan Reddick got his first sack with that cast off, gave the big thumbs up. How big is this game for the ends? You know, we've seen the D tackles, but how about the ends?
I think it's going to be most important that the entire front is very disruptive. We know that Matthew Stafford's probably one of the better passers in the game, and he's so tough. I think he's been hit as much as any quarterback in football. He's taking a beating, but he hangs in there and he delivers. This offense, they're moving.
And when we talk about those line stunts, I mentioned it earlier in the show, the one thing Sean Desai is doing, not only are the guys running ET stunts and TT stunts and TE stunts, that's in tackle, 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 in tackle.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Do
just
that again.
Make sure you realize who that was,
Back in school.
But they're also adding in linebackers at times. So you'll see Nicholas Morrow come down and set picks, and the tackles will wrap around. So, you know, I think the Eagles have found a bunch of unselfish guys, because in order to run line stunts, the guy who's being somewhat of the sacrificial lamb or the picker, he has to commit to that to allow the other guy to run the stunt and become free. So we're being successful at it because we got a lot of players that have bought into it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. And last week in the win over Washington, you had Cam Jurgens leave the game. And right after the game, Lane Johnson, when we were interviewing him, he says, how about Sua Opeta and the job he did? What kind of job did Sua do filling in?
He did a fantastic job. And what's really cool is when you see one of these guys, and especially on the offensive line, go out and it's seamless, you really don't know it. There's no drop off. And Sua Opeta played great. I remember it during the broadcast, we called his name maybe twice. But the great thing for an offensive lineman is when his name is not called. We called his name because of some great blocks that he had, but he goes into the game, the offense doesn't miss a beat. There's a seamless transition.
Sue has been a good student at Stoutland University, and let's bring in Greg Cosell once again. A lot of us think of this Rams defense led by Raheem Morris as Aaron Donald and everybody else, but it seems like it's a little more than that.
Yeah, I kind of like watching this defense as a tape junkie. They're really fun to watch. And obviously for fans, it's Aaron Donald and everybody else. But this is a defense led by Raheem Morris, who's been doing this a long time. There are a lot of Vic Fangio principles here. And by that, I mean, he starts a lot with split safety looks, but he goes to a lot of different things from that because you can. When you're in split safety, you can almost do anything, and you can show it pre-snap, and then post-snap, the look changes. And there was a really good example of that last week against the Colts, and I want to show you that. You can see the initial start here. They're in a split safety look. Now, what they're ultimately going to do here is they're going to take the boundary safety Fuller, and he's going to drop down as a robber. So they're going to play what we call cover one robber, man-to-man with a robber. And you do that when you want to take away in-breaking routes. And you know the Eagles like to work the middle of the field with in-breaking routes. So as this play starts, you can see it. There's Fuller right in the middle. Anthony Richardson wants to throw the ball to Downs on the crosser inside, but that gets taken away. Now he still throws it, and it's incomplete. But you see how effective this is in taking away in-breaking routes. And you're going to see a lot of post-snap movement by this Rams defense. It's not an easy defense, guys, to play against just because they don't have a lot of big names. But keep in mind, obviously, that Aaron Donald can beat anybody one-on-one.
You mentioned Aaron Donald there, G. We know this dude has a gold jacket waiting on him 5 years after he retires. And I'm sure Raheem Morris wants to get him singled up on Sua Opeta. So what do the Eagles need to do to sort of avoid that? And if so, do you think Sue can handle the big man down there?
Well, you know, one of the things, Ike, that the Rams really like to do, you see it around the league as well, is line up in what we call loaded fronts on third down, where you have three defensive linemen to one side of the offensive center. And that's really difficult. So what they'll probably do, they look for that, what they think is a mismatch. So you might see Donald in the middle of that three-man load working against Opeta and working with space so he can really gain some velocity and speed in attacking Opeta. So it's going to be a real chess match when you get to third down, how the Rams choose to play it because they'll want to create that matchup and how the Eagles respond to it.
Greg, we've seen other teams attack this offense and have success. I watched the Indy game. They were pretty good against him. How would you attack this defense? You know kind of what Raheem Morris likes to do. How would you attack this defense?
Yeah, I think what you want to try to do is create one-on-ones outside, because no matter what coverage you play, Hugh, and you know this as a receiver, you know, outside the numbers, it becomes one-on-one.
Yes.
And you want to work against Kendrick and Witherspoon outside. You've got Devonta Smith. You've got A.J. Brown. We see what A.J. Brown does in one-on-one situations. You want to work outside the numbers. I think one of the things Raheem Morris and this style of defense does really well is muddy the picture between the numbers. So you want to work outside the numbers with your two big-time receivers against Kendrick and Witherspoon.
Hey, welcome back to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. And the Eagles are undefeated, but these guys aren't with the Call Your Shot. They've been impressive, but not undefeated. So call your shot this week, Eagles-Rams in LA. What do you got?
You want to go first or you want me to go?
Now you're not confident.
I'm confident.
Like you usually jump on it.
I just don't want to take his. I don't know where he's going.
I'm on it this week.
Okay, here we go.
The Eagles are going to get a defensive touchdown this week, and that's going to be the difference in the game. I'm on it.
Wow.
The confidence, I like it.
I was not going there, but I like that. I'm going with number 88. Let's get the big fella in the end zone.
Okay.
Not just once.
Okay.
I'm going with 2 touchdowns for Dallas Goedert in this game.
For the tight end.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah, it is.
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see that
It's
big
time.
fella in
I
on the
think
action.
he's got it this week. I know you jumped out quick.
I hope he's right. I hope he's right.
All right, well, the Eagles at the Rams, the Birds have won their last 10 games on the road, started by Jalen Hurts. Road success is big under Nick Sirianni. He's Mike Quick, he's Ike Reese, I'm John Clark. Thanks for watching Eagles Game Plan, presented by Toyota. Enjoy the game.